Here I'm working in a React project. So for front end we are using a React. For back end we are using a .NET Core APIs, and we are
Mm-hmm.
using a Kafka for message exchange. And for API security we are using a API portal is there. So he's generating based on a Swagger. We are uploading a Swagger JSON file. So based on this JSON file is creating a separate contract for each and every API. And
Okay,
I have
got it.
worked previously in a Angular and a .NET Core, .NET MVC also. And for database, we are using a SQL and Oracle.
SQL and
Oracle. In
Oracle.
current organization, I'm using Oracle, but in earlier, previously, I'm using the SQL.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. So myself, Ayush, I have been working in Nagarro from past 6 years. I'm a technical team lead here in Nagarro. Okay, and so today I'll be taking your first face-to-face round for the required profile.
Yeah.
Okay, let us start with C Sharp.
Okay.
Can you tell me what is reflection in C Sharp?
Actually, reflection we are using if you want to read a property of a class that time. Actually, reflections I have I haven't used, but
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to check a property and all that time you can use that.
Okay, got it. What is the use case of a private constructor in C Sharp?
Private constructor if you want to restrict a class in means instance. If you don't want to create an instance of this class, that time you can use a private, so it won't allow to create a instance of directly is won't create. So in actually in a singleton we are using a private constructor. So yeah, by using a static method we are creating an instance and sending that.
Okay. Uh, Consider that you have two interface, interface one and interface two.
Yeah.
Okay. And now in both of these interface, you have one method which is identical in signature.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I need to implement both of these interface into one class. How will I do that?
Actually, if you want to implement both interface in same class, both have same method name, that time you go with the interface name. Explicitly you define implement that interface. Interface name name and allow and method name dot method name.
Okay. Okay. Got it. What is asynchronous programming in C Sharp?
Yeah, in API we are using a async await. Actually, when we are using as making a method as a async, so it's not blocking our application. Means some other that means you can call the same method multiple time also. But if you use synchronous, if one is blocking your request actually. So that time we are using a asynchronous. So don't block anything. You just if you
Mhm.
have a multiple request, serve it.
So how can you just explain in detail how is it not blocking the execution of the program?
Uh, how is not blocking? Hmm, actually, this thing I don't know, but actually, async await is not blocking. Internally, separate environment. He's just allowing to run multiple times. Asynchronously, you can call a method, but how
Okay.
it will work internally, I don't
For example, there is one method which is running and you encounter a async await statement
know.
inside
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So await means he's waiting for a await. He's just waiting for a response. Means a second. If you're calling any method as a, his asynchronous method, await is just waiting for that response. Once I got a
Mhm.
response, he's processing the next statement.
So it means it got blocked at that statement.
Yeah, but
Okay.
asynchronously is doing it. That time he's blocking. He's calling that method asynchronously. Is calling and waiting for a response.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Can you tell me the difference between IEnumerable and IQueryable?
Actually, IQueryable is helpful when we are dealing with the entity framework. And IEnumerable normally we are using when we are dealing with the in-memory object. So IQueryable it improve a performance because when we are calling a toArray and list method, that time
Mm-hmm.
is sending a request to database and getting all data. But instead of IQueryable, if I use a IEnumerable, so every time he's calling means if I'm applying a multiple conditions in a context, DB context, so every time is fetching and getting the data, so it decrease the performance.
Okay, got it. Okay, okay, let's move on to .NET Core. Can you tell me what is dependency injection in .NET Core?
Yeah, so three type of dependency we can register in a .NET Core: singleton, scoped, and transient. So singleton, across the application we have a one object single object sharing, and transient every time when we are injecting means if I'm injecting two times, three times, so it's every time is creating a new object, is giving a new object. But scope, one request, one object. So if we are injecting two times in same request, so it's sharing the same object.
Okay, but can you tell me what is the benefit of using dependency injection?
Dependency injection actually is dependency use actually internally is using a container in creating a dependency, it's storing a dependency in a IO container. So it's uh, if you use in if based on if I'm using a singleton, so instead of creating again and again a request, okay, so again he's blocking is using some memory. If you're creating any object, so he's stored somewhere, so it's consuming that memory, so it's reducing. If one time you use it sharing, so it improve a performance of this application performance section.
Okay, okay. What are middlewares in .NET Core?
Middleware is a pipelines. You can define. We have some predefined middleware, and if you want, we can create a custom middleware also. So is middleware is executing one by one. When if any of the middleware where is goes is failed, so again he's not executing a next one. It's just returning a response. Two-way communication is just a middleware is take your request and doing some processing. If everything goes correct, so is process calling a next middleware. Otherwise, is returning a response.
Okay, got it. Okay, how are these middlewares different from filters?
Uh, Actually, filters actually each and every uh, filters on executed we are applying uh, filters and filters are also you can use a filter for authorization error logging. Middleware, different.
Okay, no issues. How do you handle authentication in C# in your projects in .NET Core?
So authentication, use authentication middleware is there. We can enable, and if you don't want to apply some in any of the means login API, so that time anonymous attribute you can use. So it's allowed to access that without any authentication. So in our application, we are using a JWT token authentication.
Okay, and how do you create and validate the token?
uh, Actually create in a login API. It's an anonymous user, anyone can access that API. So inside we are just validating based on a user credentials, we are saved in a
Mhm.
database, so just validating, and if it's valid, so we are creating a JWT token and sending a back. So in a second time when he's trying to access any other API, so that time we are checking that the token is valid or not. If it's valid, we are we are providing that data. Otherwise, we are rejecting unauthorized error. We are sending. Oh, no.
Okay, and how do you know that yes, this token is not valid anymore?
Actually, token you can we can check in a based on an algorithm. We have some secret key and all, and it's have some expiry date also. So expiry date is usually we are checking it's valid or not. We are just passing. We have some steps. We are, I don't remember all the steps, but I have used. So in JWT token library, by using that only, we are just validating it's correct or not.
Okay. Okay. What is the difference between put, patch, and post in REST action
Uh,
verbs?
Post actually mainly we are using for creating a new entry, inserting a new record, and put we are using if you want to update anything. That time we are using a put, and patch means partially update. If you want to update partially, that time we are using a patch. But in as of now, I haven't used a patch. Put and post only we are using.
Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, let's move on to entity framework. So consider that you have to change a column in a table. To
Yeah.
change the column name in a table. Now, what all changes do you have to make in the entity framework code to accommodate this change? Okay, so your
So
approach could be, sorry, your approach could be code first or database first. Any of the approach you can answer with.
So in a code first, if you want to change a column name, so you just go and change a model property. So and after that run a migration. So automatically it will take that and alter create a script for alter and update in a database and for code first and database first go to database and directly change alter that table column and after that by using this entity framework tool you just again fetch create a generate a model using a database content automatically it will generate.
Yeah, get it. Okay. Okay, let's move on to databases. So can you tell me why do we need to add an index over a column of a table?
Index actually it's improving a performance. So cluster index and non-cluster index too we have. So actually we are for identity purpose we are mostly using a cluster index and in this index we are just identity column we are defining one to one. So automatically assigning that identity and cluster index actually it store data physically so when you are searching with any record by using the identity means cluster index so it
Mhm.
will taking a less time in compared to the non-cluster index it's because it's a store physically he's doing some indexing at all so it faster and non-cluster index also you can create in a you can create one cluster index in a table and non-cluster 999 but for unique key and all you just define so it also helps to improve the performance.
Okay, got it. What is a left outer join in database
Left
table?
outer join actually is giving the left uh, table in all record from left table and common record in a right table
Okay,
based on a
okay.
condition.
So let us write a query. Okay, so if you can share your screen and open Notepad.
Yeah, sure. Shared.
Okay, I can see. So basically, the question is that you need to write a stored procedure,
Okay.
okay, which will accept an input parameter n, where n is a number.
Okay.
From that stored procedure, you need to return the nth highest salary of an employee.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if n
So
is
is
4,
store procedure is required or directly a write a query?
no, store procedure is required.
Okay.
Mhm.
Notification. So it will give you nth highest salary.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is good. You can turn off screen share now. Okay. Moving on to bit of front end now. So starting from JavaScript. Okay. Can you tell me what is the difference between where and let in JavaScript?
Uh, Actually, where is a globe? Both are we are using to define a variable, but actually let have a limited means block level is scope. So in a outside a block, it's not available. But where his stored, his outside the block also it's available. It
Mhm.
so mostly we are using a let and const in a Angular and React project.
Okay, got it. What is the concept of closures in JavaScript?
Closures. Closures, I think in a functions we have some properties. Actually, I'm not sure this closure, but we are inside a object only. We can,
Okay, no issues. Uh, there are three ways in which you can invoke an object. That is using call, apply, and bind.
okay, yeah, call apply
So
and
can you explain what are these three?
uh, call apply and bind. Actually, call, if you want to call, and if there is some difference when you're passing a argument, and then that time means in call is just calling functions, and if you want to pass any parameters, you can pass a argument, or you can accept a argument also. Uh, bind also it, you can accept a parameter, uh,
Mm,
parameter argument. So some differences there, bind, call, and but it's in Angular XML. These things normally we are calling a functions normally, only bind, call, and these not using, but you can call. Some difference regarding this parameter argument also, means it's accept or not, something is there.
okay, okay, yeah, there's something like that, but yeah, uh, it's okay. What is variable hoisting in JavaScript?
This variable hosting means where if we are using, means we are defining some variable, a variable, and calling a variable, but first we are calling a variable, and then we are defining a variable, so that time it's automatically take showing as a undefined, but
Okay,
his host, where he's hosted, and let is not hosted, is a block label. So block actually, let is it will throw error, but because where is hosted, so it will take showing an undefined.
okay. Got it. Uh, what is a sticky position in CSS?
Sticky position, call stack, z index we are using.
No, I didn't understand. So there's a position in CSS which we have the different positions like fixed, sticky,
Yeah,
active,
yeah,
static.
fixed, yeah, fixed, absolute, and this. So fixed for fixed and sticky. Fixed and absolute, I have to use sticky.
Okay, what is absolute then? What is absolute?
Absolute, actually, if you're changing anything, position is absolute, so automatically it takes the position, absolute position of the CSS. Absolute. Fixed can't verify. We have some block and fixed position. Absolute, it keep change
Mhm.
based on a resolution. It's automatically change. It's reflect actually. This is here.
Okay, I think yeah, that is fine. So are you more comfortable in React or Angular?
Angular.
Uh,
Actually,
Angular. Okay.
Angular React is a maintenance project we have, mostly here. That
And on what version of Angular you have worked on?
13.
30. Okay. Parent, and it has two child components,
Yeah.
direct child components. Okay. Now I need to pass value from one child component to another child component. Okay.
Parent and child we have.
Parent and two child.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Now transfer values from one child to another child.
Okay.
Okay.
So
How can we? What are the different ways in which we can do that?
So in this case, if you means one child to another, one way means child parent relation. You just transfer some child to parent, and then parent to again you send that same information to different child. And other way, you using the subject, you can pass information, subject and
Okay.
behavioral subject.
Okay. What is the difference between behavior subject and subject?
Actually, behavioral subject is providing one flexibility. When you're defining, you can pass a initial value, initialization value that time. So it's
Okay. Okay. What are authentication guards in Angular?
yeah. So for authentication, we are securing a route. Can activate, can deactivate, wait, can load. guard. So for can activate, wait we are using for activating means based on our roles we are allowing to access that screen. So that time we are using can deactivate means if I'm working in a one route in one screen and I'm trying to move from one screen to another. So in this can deactivate we are checking if user saved all information. So that time we are allowing, otherwise we are showing a one pop-up is you have some unsaved data. So in this scenario we are using that.
Okay, got it. Uh, what are reactive forms in Angular?
So reactive forms, mostly we are using reactive forms only, template driven form and reactive form, but mostly we are using reactive form. So in this form we are in a ts file we are just defining a form using a form builder we are creating, and so it's easy to use. Actually you can apply a validation, each and everything you can easily apply in a reactive form.
Okay, got it. Okay, so any hands-on experience on unit testing, either on front end or back end?
Yeah, Karma we have used. Yeah, actually, unit testing in a current project in a React I'm using, but in a Angular I haven't used. But yeah, but it's almost same actually. All unit
Okay, okay,
testing.
got it. Okay, so any experience on creating your own pipelines using Azure DevOps or Jenkins? So,
Actually,
do you have any
pipelines I
plans to?
haven't
Mhm.
create. I have because in each and every company we have a Azure developer for this, and for CI/CD pipeline. And but I have worked on a Azure. Azure means I'm uploading a file. I have functionality I've developed, and I've used a functions, and for deployment purpose also, deployment purpose in one of the company we are deploying. Based on credential I got, so I'm deployed actually, and LTI CSI CID pipeline is there in current organization. I'm using a Team City for deployment purpose.
Okay. Uh, okay. So, again, tell me difference between Docker and virtual machine.
Docker and virtual machine. Actually, Docker I haven't used it, but it's creating one image, so I think it's more secure. Even telling, but I haven't used this.
Okay. And what are virtual machines
Yeah,
in general?
virtual machine you can in a DevOps you can creating a virtual machine. So it's a VM actually. You can deploy your code in a virtual
Mhm.
machine.
Okay, got it. Okay. So I think this was all, Ankit, that I needed to ask. So do you have any questions regarding me, regarding Nagarro? I'll be happy to answer.
Not now.
Okay. Okay. I think, okay, we are good then. Thank you so much. It was nice talking to
Yeah.
you. The HR will
Thank
get
you.
back to you with the feedback.
Thank you.